Hi guys, I'm Jim Halterman. I'm the TV Guide Magazine West Coast Bureau Chief, and I'm so happy to be here to talk about this amazing show. I'm so glad you guys got to see this episode. Keep any spoilers to yourself because it doesn't air until the 12th, I believe, so you get an early peek. But we're going to find out about the whole series and the season finale if we can get any info from the star, executive producer, and co-creator, Vanessa Bayer.
This is very exciting.
Now, I'm sure everybody here is just gaga for this episode. How was it for you to watch it on the big screen with an audience like
this? It was so fun. It's always interesting because you never know what things are going to make people laugh and what aren't until it's truly in front of an audience. So, like, a lot of the time I was so happy you guys were laughing and stuff, and then there were a couple of times when I was like, oh, we could have edited that a little differently. But I'm glad the cuckoo clock worked. We were really, we kept thinking we should shorten it, and then we're like, let's leave it really, really long.
Yeah, no, it was perfect. And so it was chock full, too. Like, you can really feel that we're heading towards the seasson finale because there's so much that goes on with everybody.
Yes, that's the second to last episode, so yeah, of the season. So, yeah.
Okay, but we'll get to all that in a little bit. But first, I binged these last few episodes because I was a few behind, but it's so much fun to watch back to back to back to back. But just talk about the origins of the show. I know it's a very personal story for you.
Yeah.
But if people don't know, I want them to kind of know how this came to be.
Totally. So, well, first of all, I've always loved home shopping. It's something, I was watching QVC when I was 8 years old, and talking about lobster claw clasps and herringbone and Dominique. And so, which is cubic zirconia for people who don't know. So I always really loved that stuff. And my friend Kitty, who came here with me, we used to pretend to sell stuff all the time, and we were just very, very into it. So anyways, I always really loved that, and I always wanted to do something about that world because I just find it to be fascinating, and it just the hosts on Home Shopping always have to just fill so much time talking, and a lot of times they end up sharing a lot of stuff about their own lives, and I just find it to be an endless source of delight and humor. And so when I left SNL, I sort of was thinking the next thing I'd want to do would be something related to home shopping, but separate from that, when I was a teenager, I had childhood leukemia, and something that I really always wanted to do, I always wanted to do something about that too, and particularly the fact that when I was sick, I really used it, I really used the perks of it a lot. I really used it to get out of a lot of stuff and get stuff that I wanted, and sort of just I really milked it for everything that it was worth. And also, which I know, but I earned it, you know what I mean? I say to anyone who's going through anything like that, I'm use it, you've earned it. But also, I've always, I'm an actor now, I've always loved attention, and having something like leukemia is so much attention, so that was another element of it. I love the attention, I love the special treatment, so I always wanted to do something about that. So when I left SNL, again, I was thinking of doing something about home shopping, and it ended up sort of organically. My friend Jeremy Byler, who left SNL, he was a writer there at the same time as me. We were having brunch one day, and I was saying, I want to do something about home shopping. I've been working on, what am I, thinking about doing something with that. And he said, I also love home shopping and have always wanted to do something about that. So we were let's just do it together. So initially this was just, we were okay, we're going to do something about home shopping. Sorry, I just said home shopping 20 times. But then, we were what is my character's story going to be, And then it sort of organically, we were well, it should be related to when I was sick. That's, again, always something I've wanted to write about, always something that I've wanted to talk about, just kind of exploiting the perks of being sick, etc. So we were well, it would be really interesting to kind of combine those two things and sort of have this character who, similar to me, watched a lot of home shopping growing up and really found a lot of joy and sort of even sort of companionship through those hosts and everything, and so that's sort of how it came together.
as far as the family element, do you have to kind of go to your family and say, just so you know I'm doing this? And
certain things in the story I have talked to them. I mean, the story is inspired by my life, but obviously some things are exaggerated. I never lied about having cancer, although I talked about it for a long time after I was done with it. But like there were certain things that I'd have to talk to my parents about, particularly just the fact that like they weren't as overprotective as I portray Joanna's parents as being, but there were certainly some kind of like tendencies to sort of protect me well into my, even I was just visiting them last week, and they were like, taking care of me and doing whatever for me, and I was just, reminding them that I'm 40.
The one thing I loved is in the early episodes, once Joanna gets her feet going into the world, she's really good. Like once she
Right.
really gets out of her own head and out of her own way, like she actually could do this.
Yes.
But tell me about the challenges and just you getting to that point. Maybe you already were there since you've had this in your life for a long time.
Yeah.
But as far as being a host and being able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's interesting because since we started working on this show, I've kind of gotten so much back into the world of watching QVC, and I was actually able to go and sell on QVC last week, which was incredible, and I couldn't believe they let me do it. But it's like, I do think because I watched it so much as a kid, sort of in the same way that like when you're a kid and you learn like a foreign language, you just really pick it up and you sort of never lose it. I picked up like the QVC language sort of, and the way that they talk about things and everything, that it was so, once we started doing the show, it sort of just like all came back. And so I think that's something we wanted with this character, is we wanted her to actually be really good at this thing, but it's just, she kind of takes a misstep at the beginning, and she really wants to prove to them that she can do it.
Okay, you glossed over way too fast that you actually did this on QVC.
Oh yes.
Last week. So I need to hear about this and just the experience of going there, because I'm guessing just when you're on the stages and talking to the people that you're kind of doing research in a way.
Oh, totally. And actually, when Jeremy and I first started working on the show, we got to take a tour of QVC, QVC is like right outside of Philadelphia, and it was just incredible. It's such a huge operation, and when you enter, there's like TVs of different QVCs in different countries, and you would think maybe that it's like an outdated thing, like you would think maybe they did better before the internet or whatever, but they actually have an app and they have an online site, and they're doing great. Like they're really, business is booming at QVC. So it was just really incredible to see all of the different studios and everything, but this time getting to actually host, I had the person in my ear telling me like how many were sold and stuff, and they were really nice to me. They were like, you can talk to the guy, like Mike was the guy who was telling me like only 1,000 left of like, the lip glosses or whatever, and so I'd be like, oh my God, Mike just said only 1,000 left. I think if I was really a host, they'd be like, chill out with the talking to Mike, but it was the hosts are really like, they're looking at the different screens for like, there's a screen that shows what's currently on camera, then there's a screen that shows what's about to be on camera, and just there's so many different things that they're doing at once. When you're watching, you just think they're just chatting and having a great time, but they're really taking care of business.
And how did you do? Did you sell lots of stuff?
Well, yes, I think I sold pretty well, okay? There was I'm very into sun protection, not to brag. And there was like an SPF hat that I had specifically requested to sell, and I really, first of all, it comes in incredible neutral colors. It's UPF 50, it's 3 inches in the front, 5 in the back, so that's gonna be, you're really protected. So that sold very well.
I think Caitlin from the festival probably already bought it.
She was going to buy it.
She was going to go on there.
Yeah, it's available in blue, nude, and rose. And anyways, so that was really fun. And then there was a herringbone. They were really nice. They were like letting me sell stuff that sort of related to stuff that we sold in the show. And so there was like a herringbone bracelet that I sold that is actually a beautiful piece. It's a braided herringbone bracelet. Comes in gold and silver, so whatever. And I say buy both, and they look gorgeous together. I wear them together, but But it's like, it was such a lesson because this is what was also very incredible was this host that I used to watch when I was a kid, she's still there and she's the person that I got to sell with. And actually when Jeremy and I went several years ago, we got to meet her and this other host. So the hosts are Mary Beth Rowe and Jane Tracy, and those are these hosts that I've been watching since I was like 8 years old. And to get to meet, I got to sell with Jane last week. It was so incredible, and she's just so good. The one thing that she told me that I found to be so interesting was, she was like, when you're talking to the camera, like when you're talking to the camera, don't talk about like, you guys are gonna love this, or you're all gonna love this. Like, talk to the one person who's watching. So she's like, always do it in the singular, like, you're gonna love this is for you, because then the person watching feels like you're talking to them as opposed to like you're talking to a group, and then they feel less special and seen, sort of.
So smart.
Sorry, I'm such a pro.
We're learning things here. One of the things through watching the whole season, and this is more of a creative question, but there's a chance, I think, when somebody's doing something wrong or somebody's kind of fooling a lot of people, that you're like, how long are we going to be on the ride with her? How long are we going to root for her? Because you can cross a line where like, well, now she's going too far.
Yeah.
But were there talks about how you made sure that we were all still rooting for Joanna? Because we do the whole time.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to make sure you're always rooting for Joanna, and that you want her to succeed and you want her to do well. And we push it probably about as far as you can go, but I've always found that when I'm on and off camera, because I smile so much, I can get away with a lot more stuff. And so I think we thought let's push it as much as we can, but we want you to know that she's like, we wanted to make it clear that she is struggling with this decision to lie, and also that she's trying to talk herself into like, maybe there's benefits from me lying, because maybe it is helping people. So we're trying to show kind of like her inner kind of turmoil surrounding that. And I think that helps you root for her, as opposed to if she was kind of like a sociopath and was like, I'll just lie and who cares?
Well, because I watch a lot of TV, I see a lot of first season shows that feel like first season shows. They're
right.
Like, oh, they're kind of feeling their way. This one did not feel like.
Oh, that's so nice to hear.
It feels so fully formed. I don't think I'm the only one who thinks that. But I don't know if you had all the scripts done before the cast came in, or did the cast help shape a lot of these people?
No, we shot the pilot first, and that's when the cast came in, but it was really nice having the cast in place when we wrote the rest of once we got picked up to series, to have them in place once we wrote the rest of the episodes. We really were able to sort of tailor them to them, and like Molly, like she's so incredible, and she's so fun to write for, because she's just so like gregarious and fun and joyful, and so it was just really fun. And the way that she would add to things and sort of improvise and come up with her own things, so that's just one example though. And the other thing is just this cast, like I'm so excited for them, because a lot of them I think people haven't seen before, and they're so funny, and they're just such stars, they're so talented. And so it was really fun seeing them improvise and come up with things too. But so it was fun.
For TV nerds like myself, I see like Bess Armstrong playing your mom. When she first came on screen, I was like, that's Bess Armstrong.
I know.
I mean, people like that blow me away.
But I know, Bess Armstrong, she's incredible. And also, as someone who was a huge fan of my So-Called Life, just being like...
I actually met her here at the festival. I can't remember what season it was, but they did my So-Called Life.
Oh, right, that's right.
She was the one I wanted to talk to.
Yeah, she's so incredible. And Matt Malloy, who plays my dad, like, they're just, yeah.
The good thing with all these funny people, and I love funny people that can play the drama as well, because it's right there.
Yeah.
And I feel like this show, the drama's always just underneath the surface. And
totally.
You dip into it, I think, even more in these last episodes.
Yeah.
Can you talk about navigating that a little bit?
Yes, and it was really interesting watching it with you guys, because we're always kind of like, we wanted to be like a comedy forward show, but then also we wanted to be grounded, and we wanted to kind of deal with some of these heavier issues. So it was interesting, because it is like a real lesson of like, we don't want to go too much without at least like one joke or one laugh, like release it. So there were certain parts when we were watching just now that I was like, okay, I know there's a laugh coming up, I hope, like I just trying to balance it is hard, because at the end of the day, again, I know I just said this, but I'll say it again. We just really want it to be like a funny show, and so we I feel like what you're asking about is it is hard to sort of navigate that sometimes because there's so much that we want to do, but we don't want it to be get too dark.
Yeah, you did it well. So this episode we just watched, I mean, the whole series is kind of on its head now after this episode.
Yes, yeah.
Was this always where you wanted this to happen, kind of?
Yeah, we always wanted the lie to come out at some point late in the season. And so it's sort of, there's one more episode in the season, and it sort of all spills out even more from there. But I think we always envisioned it. We didn't want to like go through many seasons with her still lying about this.
And was Ryan Phillippe always? I'm obsessed a little bit with the Ryan Phillippe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, obviously I think it's fair to say he's not just in that 1 second. Like he's gonna be in the next episode. Without giving spoilers.
That's a little scoop.
Okay, a little scoop. I mean, what if we were like, we want you to come in.
We're gonna spell
all
your
the
name
way.
wrong.
We're gonna do all of it. We just want you to say, how could you do this to us? Then you can go home. He was so funny. He is just. I mean, I think we wanted him because he is a really funny person, but he comes off really serious and. He just, I mean, what a good sport. We were really, he's really great in it. That's all I'll say. I don't even want to tell you I will say this. He comes on to sell something, and like his line of something, and it is, I think, very funny.
I got a sneak peek at the finale, and it is very funny. I will not say anything more. That's all I'll say. So, obviously there is one more episode.
Yes.
And the biggest question, how is Joanna going to get herself out of this without losing it all? Because the one thing that's admirable is this one little lie has kind of not opened up just her world, but they say it several times in the show how she's made everybody's lives a little better.
Right. I think,
everybody.
yeah. Well, I'm obviously not going to tell you. But
I know, I have to ask the question, or else people will corner me on the street like, why didn't you ask about the...
Yeah, he asked. He tried.
I do want to ask, this is not a spoiler, but I want to ask about the title of the show. I don't know how you came up with the title.
Oh my God.
Naming the show can be really tough.
Well, first of all, we first called it Big Deal. When we were pitching it, it was called Big Deal, which we thought was funny because it's Big Deal. Homecoming. But Showtime was like, can you do better, basically? And so then we called it I Love This For You because we thought that's like a funny kind of lightly could be taken as condescending, but also we liked that it had the word love in it, and just like we thought that would be a fun thing. So then Showtime did all of this research on it, and they were like, we actually think the phrase that is more common is I love that for you. So we changed it from I love this for you to I love that for you, and we love it. I mean, I love that for you is more commonly used, I think. If we were like, as long as they don't want to, we're happy to make that change. But people, and by people I mean us, we call it I love this for you a lot by accident.
Joanna takes a lot of grief for her wardrobe. People make fun of her shirts and all the colorful stuff. I would wear a pug shirt in a heartbeat.
I mean, thank you.
I want one. I mean, I'll look for one. I'm sure they're out there. But talk about just her wardrobe and those choices, and they're so great.
It's really interesting. We had this incredible costume designer, and she, Imani, and she came up with these outfits, and it's really interesting because when I started doing the show, I to be like really honest about it, which I said that 20 times, I'm sorry, but I thought like Joanna probably is sort of like wears sort of childlike clothing, but she's probably not that put together. And so at first I was sort of resistant to some of the outfits because I thought that she looked too put together. But then when I would watch it on camera, I was like, oh, this is like the TV version of someone who is like dresses sort of childlike. it was a real lesson for me of like, when you're making a TV show, things don't actually have to be exactly how they would be in real life. Like, there were times when I was like, oh, she wouldn't know to put like this skirt with this shirt and these shoes. But then I was like, that's so fun to watch, I think. Maybe not for everyone, but like so it was, Imani she had such a good, she was so good at being like, this is part of Joanna. Like, you don't have to do like the Vanessa version of like, I would only have like 2 skirts and I would, have like 3 shirts from anthropology that I would just be switching off. Anyway, the point is, I really loved her clothes.
With so many funny people on the show, I know some productions you have to stick to the script, it's a very tight timetable. What was this shooting like? Could people kind of veer off into things? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we shot every episode in 5 days, so it was pretty quick. So we, if we had had more time, I think it would have been a lot more improvising, but we did improvise. Such a funny cast, we did improvise quite a bit. And even the way that the cast would like deliver the lines, they would all put like their own spin on them. So a lot of the stuff actually that made it into the final cut is improvised. But and luckily for us, they were so quick on their feet, all the cast, that it was so we got to do that quite a bit.
Okay. I don't think we know about season 2. That hasn't been announced. Anything?
No,
Okay. I want to ask that question.
Yeah.
What I'll ask is, like, do you have a vision, though, for where the next step would be for all these characters?
Yeah, I think we do.
We're going to get to some audience questions here. You guys have questions for Vanessa, too? Yes? Okay. Oh, we're bringing up the lights. Okay, we can jump right in. I'm going to go right here. You have to speak loud. We don't have mics for you, so loud for everybody.
This is just kind of a fun question. I know you're probably not a hoarder like Shannon's character, but have you bought anything from a home shopping network in your life? Or do you just enjoy watching?
Yes, when I was a kid, I bought this, because I didn't have my own money when I was watching it, but my mom let me buy this ring that was rose gold, yellow gold, and white gold. So you can imagine a stunning piece. And so that's the main thing I remember buying when I was a kid. But then when our show, when Showtime agreed to work, when they picked up our show, we got our 3 executives that we work with at Showtime, each one of these blankets by Casa Zeta-Jones, which is Catherine Zeta-Jones's home line. We got them these like really nice, like sort of plush blankets, and we have been told independently by each one of them how much they love these blankets. So check out Casa Zeta-Jones.
What did the QVC people say about your show? Because I'm assuming some of them.
Oh, they were really. I think they were really excited about. I mean, it's exciting for us to get to do something about their world, and I think it's exciting for them, hopefully, to get to have their world, on Showtime. So I think they've been really, really supportive. Because we really do respect that whole world, and we love the world. It's just there's so much comedy in it, and that's what we're really embracing.
We'll do a question right here in front, and keep the lights up.
I know you're a big Housewives fan.
Yes.
Is, because you opened the door for season 2, is there a world where we can see, if you sell Lisa Rinna?
Right.
And is there a housewife out there with a product that you feel like you would sell?
Okay, let me think about that. That's a great question. I mean, do I sell the 1-wick candle or do I sell the 3-wick? Either, yeah. Maybe Wendy's candles, maybe La Dame's candles. Don't make me choose, but probably the candles, because they seem like they're really, gonna take off. But I think it is so smart of the housewives that they all come up with these products and they just happen to be, on a reality show where they get to talk about them a lot and kind of free promotion. But yeah, I think it would be maybe the 3-wick candle.
I think there was a whole storyline on Beverly Hills where it was about Lisa Rinna going to do her QVC.
Oh yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Well, now she has a beauty line, and I wish I knew more about this, and I meant to actually ask when I was there. Her makeup seems like it's not something she's selling on QVC at the moment, but don't quote me on that, because she could be selling it on QVC. But yeah, well, love the duster. Yeah. Do we sell the duster and the makeup together? Maybe that's
All of it,
for a
all of
woman
it.
who wants it all.
All of it. More questions? You have your hand up there with the glasses.
Yeah, I saw that your props department in production design.
I know. Our props department are so incredible. And the way I asked them about such specific stuff, and they would just they made that cat statue. We were like, we want it to be two cats hugging, and we want it to look like it's from like Neiman Marcus. We want it to have a lot of rhinestones on it, so it actually looks like someone could pay like $500 for it. And they made it. Yes, I agree. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, what's your question?
It's pretty got a lot of love for the home shopping world, but it's comedy and these big characters. So how do you find that balance of like, especially when you did research and you went there, like we're laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah, that's a great question. She was asking about like how do you find the balance of that world of like we're laughing with you, not at you. And I think it is that we really wanted the comedy to come from the characters being really funny and the situations being funny, but we didn't want to laugh at the place because it is a really like incredible place where, you know, it's a really fun world and where a lot of people are huge fans of home shopping, and it's this whole world that we felt like it would be disrespectful for us to be like, look at this, and I actually do genuinely love it, and I think that comes through in the show. And so I think we wanted to make sure that's a really great question. We always wanted to ride the line of like, we're making fun of, we're making fun of the characters, we're making fun of, we're trying to have funny characters and funny situations, but we don't want to like act like this place is like a stupid place, because we really do love this place, and it's just this really rich environment for us to do the show in.
I know if I were on set, I would be like, so what's happening with some of this when we're done shooting? Because you want to take it home. You see all this stuff going around. You're like, I want the
100%.
candles.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Even when I was at QVC, I kept making jokes about how I was going to like take stuff home, and they were like, "Don't do that." I was like, okay, it's just like.
Well, even just the big storage room, on the show.
Yeah.
I was like, I bet it's bigger in real life.
Oh my God. Well, all those companies, I'm like, what happens to all these Vitamixes when we're done filming? I guess I have to give them back.
All right. More questions? We got one right here in front.
Shopping. What was the first thing you bought, big ticket item, that you felt made your first big purchase?
Oh, that's a great question. The first thing I bought when I felt like I made it. I'm trying to think. I think it was, I remember when I started at SNL, I think I bought like a pair of like high heels. Like I bought a pair of shoes that was really expensive. And I remember like my shoes got a little better because just pure judgment alone from like the wardrobe people and the executives, it was like I remember for going to the like after parties and stuff, I think I got a pair of like Prada shoes, and I was like, I wore them every week, you gotta get your money's worth, but I think it was shoes because it was like I gotta try and kind of fake like I belong here.
Go ahead.
Any Easter eggs should you wear at SNL, believe it or not?
Oh, well, one is, Jeremy and I, who created the show, and our showrunner Jesse all worked at SNL, so there are a few throughout that. I will say one of the things that is sort of an Easter egg that I don't know that I've talked about this before, but is that that board that has like all the different time zones, that's very similar to when you do SNL on Saturday. You do a dress rehearsal show, and it's too long, and so then they cut sketches, and you don't know what the run of the show or what sketches will get into the live show. And then you go into Lauren's office, and there's this board that it sort of resembles that a little bit, where it shows the sketches and the times and everything. So we took some of that. That was not something that we noticed when we were actually at QVC. It was something that we sort of put in, because those boards, it's almost like when you're in high school and you audition for the play and you see like the sheet of like who got what, and you're just like, we're trying to make that board be like very like everyone goes by the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can pull things off.
Okay. Anybody in the back? Questions? No, I don't see any hands. I'll do this gentleman right in the middle with the hat.
Mine's maybe less of a question, more of a comment, but just because you mentioned how you were anticipating how the audience was going to react to the cuckoo clock,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, like, it really felt like it had, I think you should leave energy.
Oh.
And how your sketch in season 1 was one of my favorites all season.
That's so nice. Thank you. You know, I really, people have been really nice about that sketch I did, and I think you should leave. And it's funny because, you know, I was on a sketch show for 7 years, and the sketch I hear about the most is the one sketch I did on I Think You Should Leave. But thank you. That's very nice.
I love it. Right here.
The Rolos. Is there an inside joke with the Rolos?
That's a great question.
Like in every episode except for this.
The Rolos, yeah. Well, we thought it would be really funny if Patricia loved Rolos, and we like that they're gold and they're sort of like nostalgic. And you know, between us, did we reach out to Rolos and say, "Hey, do you want to give us some money?" And he said no, and we thought, because you know, it's not like everyone's getting Rolos these days, but we like. Please no one post that. We liked the idea of Rolos so much, and we thought that they were so interesting and funny, sort of, and again, very nostalgic, that we were like, we'll do Rolos. We didn't use it, but we had a thing in one of the episodes where I'm so nervous eating one of Patricia's Rolos that I forget to take off the wrapper. Probably should put that in. You live and learn.
But that's where you go to these companies and see.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, so? And they're like,
Budget.
not for us.
Budgets. Right here, sir.
How did Jonah feel when Joanna didn't have her?
Oh, that's a very nice question. Yeah, how did my brother feel when Joanna didn't have a brother? I said to him, this is inspired by my life, but not based on my life. And, you know, I'm not going to have any siblings in it, because honestly, a little less complicated to write. We have so many characters. He felt fine about it. He really felt fine about it. He came to the premiere. He wasn't mad at me. But Jonah and my brother and I are very close, and we have a podcast called How Did We Get Weird? That you can listen to wherever you get your podcast. But thank you for asking. He was fine with it.
I like Joanna's romance in this first season.
Yeah.
James' character. And you guys had a really great chemistry, and that's always a question, like, how do you plan chemistry? Because you really can't. But,
Yeah.
But how did you two work on that relationship? Because it's very sweet.
It was, he when he auditioned, it was before COVID when he auditioned, so he was able to come in person, and just immediately, like, we were improvising together and stuff, and we really hit it off, and we were talking about Silver Spoons or something. I don't know if you guys remember that show, and I said, Neil Patrick Harris, and he was like, no, it's Ricky Schroeder. And I was like, oh my God, he's, first of all, my age, and second of all, like, he just really, we really kind of, it feels like the Silver Spoon story you guys are really getting. how our chemistry showed through that, but the point is just trust me. And he was just really, like, it really, and the thing, we had so much fun in the scenes together because he's so good. He has like a really hard job of my character being like a full lunatic and him just having to sort of ground the scene and make it feel like it's like a real scene that would like a real thing that would happen. And he was just so good at like seeming like kind of like amused by me and making it feel like a grounded scene when I was just throwing at him the most insane, you know, faces and swearing and all kinds of stuff.
All right, I think we have time for one more. Any other questions?
Back here.
Okay. Oh, I do see you now. Go ahead. Nice and loud.
Hi. First off, I love that you're doing this show. I worked in home shopping as a producer for 10 years.
Wow!
It's really funny for me. The question I had was, how did you get Jenifer Lewis to, what was the process of getting her?
Oh my God. Well, our casting director knew as soon as like Blackish was ending. The question was, what was the process of getting Jenifer Lewis? So we knew that Blackish was ending, and we literally, I think we were like the first ones out to her, but it was like, we really were hoping she would do it because she got so many offers, obviously, when she left Blackish. And we had like a Zoom meeting with her. She was at a spa. And we were like, we would love for you to do this. We sent her the script. We talked to her about the character. We were like, whatever you need, we just would love to have you so much. And she said, she was like, you guys, like, she was like sort of, first of all, I love Jenifer so much. She and I immediately like got along, and we have like this very natural chemistry where like she sort of like makes fun of me and I sort of take it, and that's I feel like people, I don't know if any of you guys are like this, but I'm like, that's my role, is like being the person who's like shit on. Like I feel like that's when people get me, they sort of make fun of me. And so she immediately did that, and she sort of was like she was like, if I do this show, I'll be giving you my golden years, so you better not be assholes, And then in the same breath was like, I'm so proud of you guys, look what you're doing, you're making people laugh. I mean, this is all in our first meeting with her, and she's just like an incredible, so we just were like, I think we partially just got lucky because we got our offer to her so quickly, but I also think we really tried to tell her like what a special character this was, and that it would really be an opportunity for her to, among other things, just show how incredibly funny she is, which she obviously showed in Blackish and everything, but just to have her be this like funny, sexy, strong woman, we just felt like this had to be her, and she just really, she's just really so incredible in the show. She sings, also she can still do high kicks. She's 65. She can kick like, that's a high kick, I guess, but she's just, yeah. So it was, we didn't know if we would get her or not, but we were so thrilled when we did.
I will tell you, I was doing the Blackish series finale piece for TV Guide magazine. And so when I talked to Jenifer, she gave me what I needed about Blackish, but then she's like, well, let me tell you about the new show I'm on. This was months before this premiered, and she sold it. Like, she was just like, it's this, and Vanessa, you're gonna love her, and all that. So she was already doing the PR work for her.
Yeah, she's really, I love her so much.
Well, we have to wrap up, but you guys keep watching the show. Fingers crossed for season 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.